So as I've mentioned on this channel before, I don't make a lot of high volume items. I don't go to craft fairs and sell dozens of something on a weekend, but I do make a lot of specific things. And these are products that I hand out to customers or I pack with product when I ship. And that used to take me quite a bit of time. Now it takes me very, very little time to do these. And that's because I'm using the F1 Ultra with the conveyor. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I do that. And you'll see the advantages pretty quickly on why you would want to use this. It's the ultimate small business laser. And I'll show you how I use it. Hey, it's Steve, welcome back. Now, I'll be honest with you, when the F1 Ultra arrived, I was pretty skeptical. I thought it was just a big F1. It only had a 20 watt fiber laser. It only had a 20 watt diode laser. And I thought, oh, this isn't going to be a fantastic laser. But xTool also included the conveyor, and it's that conveyor option that turns this into an amazing small business laser. Yes, you can do all of those cutting jobs that you could do with any 20 watt laser, but what you get is the ability to do high volume manufacturing and pretty much hands off, which is really important to me because a lot of the things that I used to make, small items that I handed out to people, they used to take me a very long time, so much so that I hated making them. If you came to my shop and you asked for a business card, I'd probably have to print one for you. Now, that all changed when the conveyor and the F1 Ultra arrived, because now I make a lot of things in lots of quantity and it takes minutes, and I don't really even have to pay that much attention to it. I pile a bunch of material onto the conveyor, I push the go button, and I walk over to do something else in my shop, and I come back when it's finished. So in this video, I'm going to show you those projects that I make. You can make them too, and you can make them for your own business. You can make them for customers. It's up to you. If you want to go to those craft fairs and sell a whole bunch of keychains, you can do that. So in this video, I'll show you how, and I'll show you why that F1 Ultra with the conveyor is such a valuable capability. And let's get started on this. Now, the first project I'll talk about is my business cards, and they used to be two-sided. Now they're one-sided, and that's because the conveyor and the F1 Ultra forced me to do this, and I'll explain a bit about that at the end of this video. Now, I loaded up an image here, and you can see it's just a fake card, but it's got my information on it, and I lay it out. And the first thing I'm going to do is refresh, so I get a picture of that card sitting in the workspace that I put there. Now, it's not straight, so what I typically do is frame and then get the first one aligned quickly, even if there's multiple cards in the same spot. But in the case of these black cards, I only use one at a time because otherwise the miss rate is so high. And once you get that, then you frame out the material, and just in this case, we're really just verifying that it found the card, and then we can save that. And next I'm going to go and select the material settings that I'm going to use for this card, and you can see what they are there. It's about, I don't know, 80% and about 2000 millimeters a minute. And after that, I just have to hit the process, and it uploads my card image over to the laser, and you can see it there. And when I'm happy with it, I push the start and the engraving starts. Now, I'm not going to show you the entire engraving. It doesn't take long to engrave these cards, but it's longer than you want to sit. And once the card is done, it slides over and brings in the next card. It does the same process over again and continues that process on. And you can see I have to do absolutely nothing here, and it just works. And that's a real time saver. Think about probably 10 minutes for 10 cards. It's probably saving me that. And you can see the output looks great with the fiber laser. And there you go. There's a business card, and you can make these black cards are a little more difficult. I would say if you're going to use a lot of these, then use the blue ones or the red ones, just something other than the black, because the black ones tend to have a pretty high miss rate. It's just that I like the black ones myself, so I'm willing to tolerate some of the exceptions there. So next I'm going to use these wooden tags, and what I like to do is just create a little thank you that I can tie onto something. These have a little hole in the end, and you can just tie a little string around them and tie them to whatever you're selling. So I'll just throw a bunch of those onto the conveyor. Now notice some of the holes are to the left and some of the holes are to the right, and that'll be important later. But I'll lay them down there, and then I'll go back into XCS, and I'll do the same process I did with the business cards and do the framing for the material. And again, you can see there's some to the right, and when the hole is to the right, it knows that the card is upside down. That's why this first one you see here is being engraved upside down. but then anything that is, you know, set with the hole to the left, it makes it proper, and that's really cool actually. So you don't have to worry, and you get real consistency when you do the engraving. So I just make these things by the handfuls because they're really quick. They only take a couple of seconds each. This is real time what you're looking at here, so you can see the full engrave. And after that, when they're done, they keep rolling through the conveyor and they just fall off the end, and I can collect them up after. And you can see the output of them looks pretty nice here, and I'm very happy with how those work. Now the next thing I'll show you is keychains. Now I don't make a lot of these metal keychains. I'll make some once in a while and hand them out to people when they come to visit. But as a general rule, they're more the kind of thing you would make for either yourself to take to craft fairs or to sell to customers. But all I did here was take a photo of a very famous lighthouse that's not too far from me, put some text on it so people know where, can tell where it is, and dropped it into XCS. Now because this is going to be engraved on a black dog tag, I'm going to have to invert the image, and that's really easy in XCS. So do that, and then I'll go back and I'll create the settings. Now I'm going to use the blue diode laser here rather than the fiber laser, even though this is metal. And that's because blue diode lasers engrave grayscale really, really well, a lot better than fiber lasers will. So I'll set that, and you can see the settings there. And you can use these settings, or you can play around if you want. And when I'm ready with the settings, I'll just send this over to do a frame. So that's why I have a single tag here. I'll do the framing, and then I'll come back and I'll lay a bunch more of these tags out on the workspace. And then I'll do the final alignment on the tag. I know it's straight now, but now I want to make sure that it's truly centered on the tag. So I'll do that, and then of course I'll do the material framing, get that set up properly, and then I'm ready to go, and I can hit the process button and send these off to the laser. Now these are fairly lengthy it's a fairly long time to engrave these, so you may not want to do these on the conveyor, but I'll show you an alternative in a second. But this is real-time engraving. You can see this does take quite a bit of time, and that's because these are like 400 lines per inch, high-resolution images. They look spectacular when they're done, though. So you might want to keep these in your stable in case somebody wants something really, really nice. So we'll just jump past all of this, and I'll show you the output. As usual, it's on a conveyor, so when this set is done, it'll slide over to the next ones, and it'll do the engraving for those as well. And nothing surprising here. Now again, because you have tags with an identifiable hole in them, those ones will be engraved the opposite direction, so they'll be engraved upside down, and I'll just jump through here and you can see that. And when you're done, as I promised, these things look really amazing, and they cost pennies a piece to make, so they're quite popular for that craft fair market, and people will pay, you know, $2-3 for these, and it's something that probably costs you $1 to make. So that's keychains. So if engraving a full grayscale image onto one of these metal tags is going to be prohibitive for you, you can really simplify this. So in this case, I just took an image of a flag, and I'm going to put it on the same black metal tags. And I will use the IR laser here because these particular flags are monochrome. In this case, they're normally red and white, but we're going to engrave white and use the black background. So I just laid these out very quickly, and same process. Now I'm showing you here in real time, and you can see these are much, much quicker to engrave than, say, a high resolution photo. And they take, I don't know, 10-15 seconds a piece, so they are pretty quick. And when you're done, of course, you get a lot of bang for your buck because they look great. And in this case, I took some of those tags that I put the lighthouse on, I put the flag on the back of those, so you get a kind of a two-sided keychain. And you can do these as well. Now the last thing here I'll show you is cork coasters, and I just whipped up a quick logo here and put it onto a coaster. It's just my logo and a QR code for my website. And I'm just going to put this on coasters. I don't make a lot of these, but I'll have them lying around my shop and people can take them or put their coffee on them when they come for a visit. They come out really quickly. Now this video sped up about 8 times, and you'll notice it just skipped the third one there. And that's because it wasn't placed properly, and so it just skipped over it. And I'd rather have it do that than start working on it and fail, because you really want this whole conveyor operation to be as unattended as possible, and I don't want to have to think about it. So anyway, you can do coasters as well, and they come out really easy and completely pain-free. So I'm a convert. The F1 Ultra with the conveyor is just an exceptional experience for anybody doing any kind of volume production. It's easy to use, and it's definitely fast. Even the diode laser's fast because it also goes through the galvo path, so there's nothing moving around and you can get through things really quickly. There's a measurable time savings. I know how long it used to take me to make, I don't know, 10 business cards before. Now it takes about 1/3 that time. So that's a significant savings. And even though I don't generally make a lot of things to sell, my time is still important, and it costs money. So if I save time, I'm saving money. This thing is just ultimately perfect for high volume production. You can throw as much stuff on the conveyor as you can fit, and push the start button, and things will get engraved, and you don't really have to pay that much attention except to go reload the conveyor if you want to engrave more. Now, there are a couple of elephants in the room here that we have to dance with, and part of this is because the conveyor and XCS are still in beta, so they're still working on it, and it's come even since I got the F1 Ultra originally to now in the last few weeks. It's come a long way, so it's definitely getting better. You have to use combined components in XCS, which means you take all of the elements that you have and you combine them into one, effectively an image. And that's the thing you have to engrave on the conveyor. So you can't engrave bits and pieces like a piece of text and then an image. You can't do that. So that's a bit of a problem, because what that means is when you combine the image, you're destroying the original, quote unquote source of your design. And sometimes you need to go back and modify, and now it's no longer text, it's now pixels. So you have to keep that in mind, and basically you have to make sure you always keep backups. A more insidious problem, I'd say, is that as the conveyor is working and it's laying out your design on the workspace, it's actually modifying your project. So if you then go and save your project, you're going to have a whole bunch of your image, but it's going to be upside down, sideways, at some weird angle. And then if you do have to go and get it straightened again, it's a problem. That's why I frame initially on one piece and make sure it's square. And then I never ever save that file again unless I'm actually making a modification to the design. And last on the list here, I noticed that images, especially on those black business cards where it doesn't know orientation, but you also saw it in the coasters if you were looking carefully, images get flipped, they get turned upside down, and that's a real problem, especially with my business cards, which used to have 2 sides. They had my business details on the front and a couple of QR codes on the back. Well, I engraved the QR codes first, and then I tried to engrave the front of the card, and some of them were upside down, which means when you turn the card over, the QR code is upside down. So that's a bit of a problem. Now I know they're continuing to work on things, but in this particular case, it's because it doesn't know the orientation of the business card or the coaster. Those tags and keychains where there's an actual identifiable hole, it never did any of those incorrectly in my experience. So all in all, pretty happy. And I know that some of these problems are going to get fixed. One other thing that isn't on my list here, but I'll mention it, is I thought this would be a fantastic way to engrave pencils. But when I put a pencil in the workspace, I wasn't able to frame the material, and that bothered me a bit. So I sent a message to xTool to try and get that one resolved. So hopefully I can get it fixed so you don't have to worry about it. Anyway, with that, we'll wind down. I'll put descriptions to all of the materials I used in the description down below. And if you use those, they're affiliate links, so you're helping out the channel. And I'll say, with that, get out there, make your world, and I'll see you next time.